we've been talking about EDC, everyday carry, the items that I choose to carry with me every single day. Again, because I feel like that I need it, not I feel like, I know that I need it for everyday task or of times of crisis. And every single item here, I make sure that I spend time behind in knowing how to use it before the crisis arises. Now, I don't remember the exact quote or how the quote saying, how the quote goes, but I once heard someone say, in the time of crisis, you will never rise up to the occasion, you'll fall down to your place of disciplines. And so he was saying that it's so important for you to practice every day, to rehearse every day. And I think that speaks to so much biblical truths, that we don't simply pray when we're in time of need. We don't simply seek God's face when things aren't going right. We seek the face of Jesus in everyday life, in everyday occasion, regardless of the circumstance. And so when I think about EDC, I think about the spiritual metaphors that it can be connected to. And so I wanted to share with you and Jesus in the EDC. Oh, so again, I told you that I carry with me a Glock 17. Again, one more time, this gun has been safety checked. The magazine is reloaded, and there's nothing in the chamber. The magazine is made clear, made safe. And so I carry with me a firearm. Why do I carry with me a firearm? Because if I'm in a place of life and death conflict, to protect my life, my family's life, or those around me, I know that I need to have the power to combat, the power to fight, family. You ever heard the saying, never bring a knife to a gunfight? Why is that? Because it's speaking to the ability to be overpowered and overwhelmed. It's important for you to understand this, that God did not die on the cross and rose the third day for us to be the punching bag of the enemy, the doormat of the demonic. God has allowed us to be spirit-filled, passionate, and powerful believers so we can effectively fight the fight of faith. When you're in a time of crisis, do you have the power to combat? In your time of crisis, do you have the power to fight the things that's fighting you? Family, how do you have power? How do we have ability to fight in our time of crisis? Is knowing who is fighting for us and knowing that we have the opportunity, family, and the privilege to arm ourselves in times of battle. I watch so many people, they simply lay down. They get a bad report from the doctor, or they get a bad report from people. They simply lay down. They lay their arms down. You know what I mean? And when the police officer pulls a gun to a criminal, what do? They tell them the first thing to do is to drop the gun, to lower their power. And then what do they do after that? After they drop the gun and they lower their power, they raise up their arms. And what are they saying? They raise their arms in an act of surrenderance. They're saying, I'm not running, I'm not fighting, I'm not resisting. Now that is how it should appropriately go with police officers. I agree. But in the spiritual climax, the spiritual aspect, what I'm talking about today, when you find the enemy comes to you and he pulls up his arms of his fiery darts and fiery arrows, and the very first thing he wants you to do, he wants you to lay your arm down. He wants you to lay your power down. He wants you to get yourself out of the fight, because you know if he tries to fight you with the power of the Lord in you, he will lose. The Bible says this: when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise up a standard against it. Many times we read it, when the enemy comes in like a flood, then God will raise up a standard. But that's not how it reads. It reads, when the enemy comes in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord will raise up a standard against it. And so it's so important for you to realize that when the enemy tries to fight your life for everyday battles in the spiritual aspect of this world, because the Bible communicates so clearly in the book of Ephesians that we battle not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, principalities, evil forces in the heavenly realms, that when the fight of life happens, that you don't run, you don't flee, you don't lay down and be the doormat of the enemy, but you don't lay down your arms, your ability to fight, because you've been intimidated by the magnitude of your problem, but you keep fighting. You raise up your arms, you take up arms, and you fight to the things that's after your life. Our spiritual life, your salvation, your heart, it is literally life or death eternally. You need to be prepared to fight. Do you have firepower in your life? Do you have the ability to combat, to resist the enemy, and he will flee. Family, you need to have firepower. You need to be prepared. You need to be able to combat and to fight the things that's been fighting you. When you feel like you're overwhelmed, are you throwing up your arms in an act of surrender and saying, I give up, I'm not running anymore? Or are you saying that you realize, hold up, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me? When you realize that, okay, yes, so I got a bad report from the doctor, but I know I have power and a promise that speaks this truth. That Bible says that by his stripes I am healed. When you recognize that the magnitude of your problem does not dictate the ability God's inability to perform, that he anchors his truth at his word, that he watches over this word to see this fulfilled, you gain power in that time of crisis, that you don't lay your arms down, you raise your arms up. When you don't know what to do, when you find yourself in a bad situation, when the testimony or the report is bad, you can encourage yourself that you have the ability to fight. You have power. When you feel like, hey, I don't have a lot of money, I have more bills than I have funds coming in, you can remind yourself, instead of laying your faith down, instead of laying your power down, you can remind yourself that his word says that I've been young and old, but this I do know, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor the seed begging for bread. The Bible says in the book of Philippians that being confident in this, that he who began a good work in you is faithful and just see it to completion. Don't lay your firearm down. Don't lay your arm down. Don't lay your ability to fight. Don't surrender through the pressures of your day. Don't surrender to the pressures of your life and give up and quit fighting. Because if you give up and quit fighting and lay your arm down and surrender, the enemy has already won. Your situation has already overwhelmed you. But if your situation approaches you, your everyday life experience, your time of crisis, when you realize that, hold up, God did not leave me by myself. I am not unarmed. I have a power to fight. You have power in Jesus. You have a relationship and a covenant with the Most High God, that he has empowered us to do what we are called to do. Greater is in me than he that is in the world, and that power is made available to you that is found in Jesus Christ. Don't be the doormat. Be the victor. Stand in a place of victory because you have the power. You're not laying your arms down. You're taking up arms. You're fighting the fight of faith. Ephesians chapter 6, an incredible passage about the armor of God. The ability to stand when everything else done to stand. You stand your ground. You hold your ground. You hold your ground in times of crisis. You hold your ground in times of battle. You fight for your life. You fight for your family. You fight for your generations. Break the generational curses and bondages that's been plaguing your family over and over again. Alcohol, divorce, diabetes, these generational problems that's been plaguing over and over again. And it's going to continue to happen until someone rises up and no longer sets down their arm, but rises up their arm and remembers the promise that the Bible says that curses he who hung upon a tree, that Jesus already broke the generational curses and bondages, that we can walk in victory, that you can walk in freedom. Why? Because he has given you and I the power to fight, the power to resist, and the power to win. You are more than a conqueror. Take up arms for your life. Take up spiritual arms for your family. Take up spiritual arms for your salvation. Take up spiritual arms. You're the priests of the home, men. Take up spiritual arms for them. Moms, ladies, take up spiritual arms for your children. And be the example, the nurturing example that's going to withdraw lies and deposit truth. Be a place of power. Don't lay down your arms. Pick them up. Be ready to fight. I remember one of those verses that this made very true to me in the hardest times of my life, where I literally wanted to lay everything down and say I give up, where I wanted to throw in the towel and stop fighting, is Psalms 121. It says, I lift up my eyes to the hills. From where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord. Oftentimes we think just because a situation is dark, we feel like we're forgotten, neglected, rejected, and alone. That God's forsaken us and abandoned us. But I need to let you know something, that just because you feel God is silent doesn't mean he's absent. He's always there. Psalms 23 says, even though I walk through the valley, the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. There's something about realizing that you never walk alone that gives you power, that gives you firepower. the ability to fight. But let me tell you this what's so important about this. Knowing information about the firearm is not gonna get you in the fight. You need to know how to use it. Do you know how to use this thing? Do you know how to use your place of power? You know how to access the ability to fight in your times of crisis, because it is important to your spiritual disciplines, your everyday devotions, your prayer life, that you have access to God and you can fight in times of crisis. Carry your spiritual firearm and be ready to fight when the time arises, because the enemy is fighting you. Don't lay down. Stop surrendering. Your salvation is worth fighting for. Your victory is worth fighting for. Your family is worth fighting for. Your healing is worth fighting for. Your deliverance is worth fighting for. Your finances is worth fighting for. Your dreams is worth fighting for. Your victory is worth fighting for. Your mind is worth fighting for. Family, your life is worth fighting for. So stop being intimidated by the enemy, the size of your storm, but take up arms, spiritual arms, and fight what's been fighting you.